3 episodes into season 22, it feels like Grey's Anatomy is back to business as usual after the gas explosion that ended season 21 turned Grey Sloan Memorial and its doctors upside down for a while. Naturally, business as usual for this program entails risky procedures, heartbreak-related anxiety, and figuring out how to project sexual tension even while in an operating room with a human being's flesh being sliced open in front of you. Oh, and reportedly shaking down car salesmen as well. Yes, a typical Thursday in the made-up city of Seattle. We should discuss, between two lungs, Meredith's new employment arrangement, which will involve her operating in Seattle over the summer, also means that Grey Sloan will have access to world-renowned transplant surgeon Nick Marsh for a few months each year. These adorable tiny ones are a whole package. Nick is now treating Ryan, a 6-year-old child, who has bronchiolitis obliterans. He has been on ECMO for what is now becoming an unsafe period of time and is in dire need of new lungs. Nick is aware that Ryan doesn't have much of a chance if he just hopes for a match from a deceased donor, which is the usual standard of care in this situation. Rather, Nick wants to do a bilateral lung transplant using Ryan's fathers, Vivek and Stephen, who are both living donors. Living donor lung transplants are uncommon, they are state-of-the-art and carry significant risks. Despite merely losing the lower lobe of one lung, Stephen and Vivek would have a lifelong reduced ability to breathe and could experience infections or strokes. It's not a straightforward process. Both Stephen and Vivek are convinced that they want to do whatever offers them the greatest chance to save their kid, even when Winston raises some serious concerns and he and Meredith return to Ryan's parents to ensure they are aware of the risks. In particular, Vivek feels compelled to inform his physicians that he has no qualms. He came into Stephen and Ryan's lives when Ryan was just 2 years old, and he now finds it impossible to envision his life without his son. It's really endearing and serves as a good reminder of their goals. As Nick repeatedly states, the goal of this procedure is to save a whole family. Miranda Bailey's day is going well. I apologize, I was enjoying my day. You see, it begins with lots of enjoyable activities, such as watching her recently appointed chief resident husband celebrate his significant promotion, witnessing him form a bond with her best friend and second dad over their chiefdoms, and reminding those two idiots that being chief entails a ton of paperwork. At the end of the day, Weber and Ben both recognize that Bailey was correct once more. However, Miranda Bailey's day doesn't get much better than that. Shortly after, an ambulance arrives at Grey Sloan carrying one of Bailey's patients, who is scheduled to receive treatment for stage 2 stomach cancer. Although Katie's chemo treatments will undoubtedly be delayed due to her internal injuries and splenectomy, Bailey repeatedly reminds her that she should only begin to worry when she begins to show signs of concern. Bailey doesn't yet appear concerned. To be fair, she is somewhat concerned, but it is more related to the evident conflict between her two residents, Lucas Adams and Wes Bryant, than it is to Katie. Lucas, who is still pretty bitter, finally yells out loud at the beginning of the shift what all of his eye rolls and brusque responses have been screaming at Wes: "I'm angry at you because you slept with my girlfriend." Naturally, Simone clarifies the issue when Wes informs her that she ought to have at least alerted him. She didn't cheat, she and Lucas weren't together when they ended up tangled in the restroom at Joe's, and Lucas is simply taking this hard that he might be deemed unreasonable by some. Some people might use different language to describe this mature adult's behavior. Naturally, this exacerbates the tension between Lucas and Wes and makes Bailey's work even more difficult. She must eventually separate the two, and while in surgery, she assigns Lucas to retractor duty, sends Wes on an errand, and reminds the distressed second-year resident that his emotional outbursts have already resulted in his expulsion from the operating room once this year. He must get himself together. Lucas sees tumors forming on Katie's liver as soon as he glances down at it, so he doesn't have time to explain himself. Her cancer has spread. Katie doesn't even need Bailey to break the news to her when she wakes up from her operation because she can see it on her doctor's face. Bailey is quite concerned. Although it does not appear promising, they will need to perform some more tests in order to restage Katie's cancers. Well, that's an awful day for all of us. However, by the conclusion of the shift, Bailey can see that her remarks to Lucas are being understood. He puts aside his emotions in order to begin instructing the intern. That's a victory of sorts. Speaking of terrible days, it seems that Kwan messes up a lot with his new plastics partner Kavita Mohanty. Kwan is ecstatic because he thinks he has finally discovered his area of expertise and will be working with the new plastics guy that day. The best part is that he gets to start the morning with a new intern in her place, which is much better than a cup of coffee. However, Kwan soon discovers that the intern he reprimanded is actually Dr. Mohanty, the new plastics fellow. Unfortunately, it doesn't get much better from there. He consistently ruins her day, mistreats their patients, and by the end of the shift, the only thing she can do to help him is to stop talking. It will be difficult to change that initial impression. Jo is unaware of the threat she has unleashed in that auto showroom when she asks Teddy to accompany her on her trip to purchase a new vehicle for her growing family, as Link is still in the hospital recuperating. Teddy enjoys haggling. It is her life. She's also rather skilled at it, to be honest. When these two women enter the room, Daniel, the automobile salesperson, does not anticipate playing hardball. However, this plot is really about Teddy moving on once her divorce becomes final, even if the setup is about Jo purchasing a new automobile. Teddy breaks down in tears as Daniel begins to tell Jo about all the memories her family will have in this car. She shares the situation with Jo and expresses her guilt at destroying her family. Divorced herself, Jo tells her that her children deserve a happy mother. It will get better. Teddy simply needs to rediscover the little things that make her happy so she can remember who she was and how to be joyful. That day, Teddy had a number of happy moments. She first manages to negotiate a great price for Jo on a new vehicle. She then purchases a gorgeous new Cadillac for herself. The real kicker, though, is when she picks up Cass Beckman in that gorgeous new Cadillac and they start making out in the front seat. For Teddy Altman, that is truly a happy occasion. Thanks for watching. For more updates stay tuned and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, please.